very engaged with the UN to try and basically govern at a world level and coordinate international policies on various issues. And I think that's why he was chosen for that. I think he was chosen deliberately for that role. And then we look at things like, why did he win the Nobel Peace Prize? Was this an accident, or was this part of this kind of behind-the-scenes strategy to cultivate, to present Obama as this kind of ideal symbol or figurehead for this new world order based on governance principles?
Which is not a unimportant question to ask, because if the Nobel Prize would be given to him in a timely fashion to handle all the disclosure, it would be very handy for supposed universal peace. But of course you have real universal peace, or an statement of government which can use false flag events to try to have, and I'm curious what your suggestion is in these, because you're also working on these peace projects on a political scale. Sometimes the good goals in life or the peace projects get used because as a front, so to speak, as if like the CIA uses fronts with their drug transport. Sometimes politicians, of course, lie and cheat. They're not always reliable, of course, as a false flag event for something else. But actually, to go on to another question, because I think it's very important what you're saying here on Larry King Live in the same article, by the way, source reveals secrets UFO meeting at UN. You're writing, increased media reports will first likely lead to disclosures of secret anti-gravity technologies that have been withheld for over 50 years as a prelude to official disclosure of extraterrestrial life. So I don't mean to criticize you, because I just don't have any clue how you came up with this sentence, but to me it sounds as if it's a logical prelude to official disclosure of extraterrestrial life. Does it sound as a logical progression, or do you mean that they want to bring this news first because otherwise the shock will be too great? Because this is not clear in that sentence.
I think it would be a prelude to full disclosure. I mean, disclosure can happen in many ways. I mean, it can begin with something very, very minor, such as, they've discovered microbes on Mars, and so then all of a sudden extraterrestrial life becomes real and official, and universities begin to study it. Or it can come in at a higher level, which is that they've found intelligent extraterrestrial life out there. So it can come in a number of ways. But I think at some point, prior to the announcement of intelligent extraterrestrial life with advanced technologies, that we will have a disclosure of the advanced technologies that exist in the United States and other countries. And I think, for example, one of the things that puzzles people a lot is, why has the US administration and Obama agreed to cancel the replacement to the space shuttle, like the Constellation program? If you think about it, it's like, well, why has the United States now abandoned any launch vehicle to replace the space shuttle? There is nothing there. So why would the United States, which was really a pioneer in space research, suddenly now not have a vehicle that can go into go for example to the International Space Station, and they have to rent rockets from the Russians or from private industry to do that? Why is there nothing planned? I think if you look at that question, it can be very puzzling for most scientists. Why is this happening? But if you look at it from the perspective of those that know of a secret anti-gravity space fleet that has been in existence for 20, 30 years, this would actually be the way in which you would actually announce the existence of this space fleet, because people would be very annoyed if suddenly they discovered that you have this secret space fleet, and at the same time you've been funding NASA using kind of antiquated rocket propulsion technologies. So I think the Obama administration has set up the circumstances or the process by which they can come forward in the near future with an announcement that the United States does have a secret anti-gravity space fleet that can take it into deep space. And this, in fact, is the replacement to the space shuttle.
Mm-hmm. So the question which comes to mind, and I didn't write this down before, but just came spontaneously, so to speak. I'm currently finishing a book about anti-gravity and, of course, the related secrecy to free energy. Because it has been such a secret, and from the 50s on, we've had these human anti-gravity, so either reverse engineered from extraterrestrial crashes, or maybe even just human geniuses coming together and finding out that anti-gravity is a real phenomena, and that Einstein and Newton were wrong in a way, that everything has a polarity, and you also have anti-gravity. And from anti-gravity, of course, relating to vacuum energy and zero-point energy and scalar electromagnetics, like the work of Thomas Bearden, comes free energy. But it's always been a problem, so to speak, in a bit ironic fashion, that the people in power want to have this status quo because they do not want free or cheap energy. They want to make a lot of money and have a lot of power. So what's the real reason? Is it something from a cosmic background? Is it a time thing? Is it a political thing? What's the reason that the ET presence, if real, let's just suppose all the evidence is there, and of course I know you've written that down in your book, but let's just say that all the general audience and all the people are convinced of the evidence. What's the real reason behind disclosing it now? Because it's still a power game and a money game for the energy and a military cartel. So what has changed?
Well, it's that classic question, what comes first, consciousness or policy? Is it a rising consciousness that influences political, sociological, economic events? Or is it the change in social, political, economic events that causes changes in consciousness? It's that classic question. Personally, I believe the consciousness has not quite been ready yet for disclosure. You know, people, for whatever reason, were not quite ready to prepare this reality. But I think what is happening with the internet, with the rise in kind of information sharing, is that so many people now know of someone or have had direct experiences that the UFO issue and the possibility of extraterrestrial life is not something that would come as a shock. And so I think there has been a change in consciousness where we as a planetary culture are more able to move into this new era where the existence of extraterrestrial life is openly acknowledged and policy is being set by governments and international organizations. So I think we are very, very quickly going there. And I do believe very strongly that this change in consciousness we are seeing through the internet, through kind of unprecedented information sharing, that is really the main actor that is driving disclosure. Sure, we can say that it's because, within the Obama administration there are sympathetic officials for disclosure, or that internationally there are those that want to be able to kind of prepare the public for the next level, through a false flag, extraterrestrial invasion or something that, we can point to all these processes. And I think really the most important one is just changing global culture and awareness.
Okay. I'm thinking about the work, of course, this also, it's in the disclosure book, from Stephen Greer. I think there's a very important remark by Werner von Braun while he was on his deathbed. And of course, you already know what I'm heading at. He's saying, that, the peoples in power have, sort of arranged in the future, certain kind of false flag events which they would need to have wars and, to make a lot of money and geopolitical power. First it's the Russians that came about, then it's the terrorists as a false flag event that came about, and the final frontier would be an actual faked extraterrestrial attack. And of course we now have these holographic techniques and the scalar electromagnetics through phase conjugation and so on, as you probably know, to actually create large three-dimensional holographic, Shayana Dean, and I'm not sure about her work, but she's calling it holographic insertions. And I like that word